Hey everyone, this week I'll start with a video on individual names because it helps tell the story of the market better. Overall index level is in a strange spot. We can go higher, we can definitely go lower, and if we go lower, we will go much lower if we have the kind of breakdown that we have the potential to do. And if we go higher, we're probably just gonna inch along slowly like zero point 0.2, zero point 0.3 days from time to time, minus zero point 0.1, something like this. But slow grind up at the index level. But individual names can go pretty crazy. And having just looked at like close to 1,000 tickers, things are more bullish on the individual names than bearish. Not everything is rosy, but most of them are like 60% are kind of bullish. So selected a few of them to go over. Start with AMD. Not a lot to say on this one. We have a breakout, back test. We captured the AVR from the high, continuation up on Friday. This is looking pretty good. Nothing else to say about it. It should continue up, maybe go to 185 at least. Um, Maybe potentially even higher. We shall see. Not a lot aside from the continuation. Then we have Adobe. A bit of a bullish divergence here on the retest of 500. It's here when we have this. So a bit of a bullish divergence, kind of a double top thing, which now backtesting the huge horizontal level at 500. Um, this was a major level to break through and held that support a couple of times here. And if it broke down below 500, we have to probably go back to 447 or something like this. But given the look of this, with this falling wedge kind of setup, bullish divergence, it seems unlikely that it will break down. So most likely outcome here is that we may potentially maybe retest 500, but this should hold and eventually break out. And minimum target would be this retest of the gap. Another If not, we go even higher and do the full triple top kind of thing, or maybe we go even higher later. So this would be, come on man, click the rest stuff. This would be the minimal target, 540-ish, potential to go higher. But I think this is more likely to be bullish than bearish given the setup. Snow still looks bullish, expecting this to break out at one point. Posted on Twitter about it. Then we have Upstart with this pennant here after the move from previous earnings, some consolidation, a significant horizontal level here as well from the first support from the initial move up from IPO. So I think this is kind of bullish if you can get above 42 and lots of room to go up. Minimum would be retest of the high here, which would be, come on, click it, 45-ish. But this has a lot of potential if earnings are fine, earnings on the 5th of November. So I think this can go up quite a bit even before earnings. We have a breakout, maybe go to 50, maybe even higher, like 55 or something like this. And then earnings comes along, and if earnings is fine, we can go to 70. Uh, Palo Alto Networks, just this pennant here, potential double top, but we have this long-term trend line here. And actually this was a breakout on Friday, so retest of high area 370-ish, something like this, definitely possible. I like the look of the RSI here, holding recapturing 50. Upstart also has the same kind of thing here, which it held 50 RSI and it's trying to go higher now. So definitely a bullish look there. Same for Palo Alto. Again, it depends what it does at the all-time high, but for now this is looking bullish. ASTS had this huge move from 2 to 40, corrected quite a bit down to what was the low, like 2170, something like this. And this is an inaccurate kind of trend line. I think it's best to do it like this, although that can be relevant. So I really like this at 20 if we get this tag of the A view up, but it doesn't mean it has to go that low to go up. And even if it goes up, it doesn't mean it goes super high directly. Like we can do 30, then go back down. There's a lot of not potential. There's a lot of scenarios for this one to play out, and eventually do more consolidation and eventually go higher or back to 40. Something like this seems plausible, but it can just go ham for no reason at all and just go crazy as well. But I think 40 is a cap for now. Don't think it's possible that it goes higher than 40. ZS, Zscaler, holding this horizontal level. This has the same look as this here. Um, it tried to go lower once, 2 times, 3 times, and always held. Again, some consolidation is uh, possible for a while longer, but eventually I think this breaks out and goes higher. Minimum would be like 200. Maximum, I don't know, retest of the high is quite plausible here. But I like the look of the hold on the horizontal level, the 3-time hold. I don't think we actually go lower than this, than 160 moving forward, but definitely could see some further consolidation in this area before the breakout. Whenever the breakout happens, like if it happens, it could happen today. It's fine to take it. Like if it does this, still plausible. I don't know when exactly it would break out, but when the breakout happens, it's fine to take. Marvel, looking with this pennant here, we had this huge move, swing, whatever you want to call it here, and we haven't gone outside these bounds yet. Uh, Whether it's down or up, we should be seeing it retested. Either way, it's a move you want to take. So if you have a breakout, we take the move to 78. Might get rejected here, might not, might go even higher. If we go down, take the move down on a breakdown, we should retest 66, and I think this will hold. Like you already see this range forming here. When we go below it, like we did here, we double it. This was, I think, was even more than double. Yeah, it was even more, but quickly recovered back to that level. Like we can say that we actually had a single close below it, which was this, because when we went here, we went back and closed above. So when we go outside of this range, it's a clear target. Oops. When we go, come on, man, click the fucking thing. If we go in the other direction, target would be retest of this high. This went like 85-ish, 84, 85. So if we go below and get outside of this horizontal range, like if we get up outside here, target would be retest here. If uh, if we go here and we go outside it, target would be here. But for now, it's looking bullish because we're closer to a breakout higher than a breakout lower. Again, this seems more likely to happen today because we are close to a breakout and the apex of this pennant is very close. So keep an eye on it for a shorter move in the next week or so, more likely higher and potentially even higher than this. Microsoft doesn't look that hot because we are closer to the lower to a breakdown than a breakout, but this could definitely bounce here, go higher. To keep an eye on it, target would be retest of this low area, very similar to Marvel in the setup. Could potentially say that we have this broadening formation, this wedge here, that it would actually go this low, but this would mean the market would break down. So I think it's very unlikely. I think it's more likely that we get a, a bounce here on Microsoft. Qualcomm, kind of strange looking, um, because it can go both ways. Question is this more like a head and shoulders kind of thing, and we get rejected eventually? And this would go quite a bit, probably like 112 if we get a breakdown, maybe even lower, maybe 100, exactly 100. This would be like the bearish scenario in which we fail to break out. But for now, it's also an ascending wedge, rising wedge, not rising wedge, ascending triangle, sorry, ascending triangle. And if we break out, we would go back here. It's kind of lagging stuff like AMD and Nvidia, which is the kind of the strange thing. Is this just a lag that means it will catch up later, meaning the bullish case, or is it a lag that signals weakness in the other names, like for let's say uh, AMD goes to 185, gets rejected, and it gets hard rejected and goes back to the lows here, something like this. So this is the uncertainty about the current situation. There's potential for going up on individual names, but there's also potential for them to just whiff on the moves on the attempts higher and get rejected. And when they go down, they will go down hard. But again, bias is bullish. Then we have Net, same kind of look as Qualcomm with this ascending triangle kind of thing. Uh, this is more uncertain from the perspective of we can actually wait until earnings here in November or end of October for this move to happen. So we can just go nowhere for the next 2 to 3 weeks, and then when earnings come, it just goes crazy or just has the breakdown. So this type of name like net, I put it here on the list because it's interesting, but it it's not a move that can easily be followed. If it happens before earnings, sure, but if it doesn't happen before earnings, I would not take an earnings play on this one to just gamble on going up or going down. Next, we have ON, which I like more than Qualcomm or Net. It has somewhat of a similar look. We have this horizontal level that we are ascending towards, and I think this is more likely to move up. Why I like ON more than the other names is because of its correlation with Tesla. Not a perfect one by any chance, but like Tesla had this bottom here, it has this move up. I would expect if Tesla continues to go up for ON to catch up. Then we have Square and a couple of Bitcoin names. Bitcoin itself doesn't look that bullish. BTC, USDT. On Binance, I have my stuff there. Another rejection here, but a higher low. Got rejected on RSI, trying to move higher now again. This has been consolidating for a while, so what I would like to see in Bitcoin is kind of like something like this. And the next time it goes up, I would have high confidence that it will actually break out. But if this doesn't happen, this a breakout here looks very trappy to me. Sure, it can go like to one regular to 70k, but this still feels kind of strappy to me, and I think it doesn't move above the previous high area. If we were to go down and have further consolidation and then move up, I would have confidence that the breakout is not going to be trappy, that it actually goes higher here. But getting this kind of move now is a bit sketchy. So I think the main scenario is to have like a trap move back to 72K. Regardless, this will be bullish for stuff for Bitcoin names. Even if it doesn't, if it, even if Bitcoins only goes to 70K, this can be like a 30-40% move in this kind of names. Like we have Square, breakout, consolidation on the backtest. This really wants to go higher. And targets already drawn, like 75-ish, potentially 85, 90 area. Riot, same kind of situation. This one is obviously weaker. We can go to like 9.5 for the trend line test. If we break out, we go to 12. It's pretty straightforward. MicroStrategy, this is kind of ahead of itself. We'll see what happens with earnings later in the month, but this is set up for a potential horizontal breakout, and target would be, let's double this from here. 240-ish, let's say 250. But again, also can get rejected here and do more like a ascending triangle before it breaks out, given that it's into resistance. Rift I like a lot. Broke out of this trend line, consolidating above. I think this is due a big move up. 15 quite easily, but most likely a retest of this AV up here at 18. If you take earnings into consideration and the market doesn't correct significantly here. Then we have Rivian. Uh, we had kind of this head and shoulders thing here. One shoulder, head, and we went higher. Now we are retesting this area and I think it will hold. Even if it doesn't hold, it doesn't have a lot of downside, maybe to 850, maybe a full low retest here. But I'm kind of seeing this hold here. Doesn't mean that it has to immediately go up, meaning today, but a couple more moves here make a more obvious divergence. But this seems very close to a bottom. Maybe goes to 10 exactly. What was the low here? 982. Something like this, like another poke below 10 would be a good entry. And I would expect it that it doesn't close below 10. If it closes below 10, maybe wait a bit. But if it doesn't close below 10, I would expect this to eventually move higher. So this was a horizontal level that is important. I had 1, 2, 3. Eventually we lost it, we backtested it, went below, but now it's trying to recapture it. So on the recapture of this level on a closing basis, I think this is good enough to take long. I would expect it to follow this trend line and just keep going higher, and this has the potential to move up fast. It's a squeezable name, lots of short interest. So this kind of move, that the type of move that happens is something like this. Like this, it doesn't usually move slowly. And there's a sector that hasn't really gone up and is tied to, not to plug but to Enphase, which Enphase has a nice build up here. Earnings relatively soon, and I think it will hold and should eventually start moving up. The last sector that, now that China has gone up as well, the last sector that hasn't really moved up significantly is solars and clean energy. And if even China went up, why the fuck not with these ones? So I think these are a good speculative play like plug and Enphase for a year-end rally into solars, especially if uh, Kamala wins. If Trump wins, they might not have that big move, but if the Democrats win and in the election, I would expect solars and clean energy to have a huge rally into year-end, very similar to what we saw in China just last week. So I think this is a good play into year-end. It doesn't have a lot of downside. Looks pretty straightforward. Albemarle, a very similar setup with plug, meaning we had this horizontal level here, and we have one right above as well here. But we lost this one, got rejected a bunch of times from it, and then on the last rejection we went up, and now we have recaptured this horizontal level and the psychological 100 level on a gap up and continuation up 8% day. This is pretty bullish. Uh, sorry, down. This can continue up. So we have room until 110, potentially rejection here. Also a big horizontal level that was support multiple times in the past. If we recapture this, I think the potential is to go much higher, like 150-ish. Then I'll start with teams instead of Asana. Team, uh, similar, not similar setup, but something similar to what I was saying in recapturing a horizontal level. And we have a breakout on Friday with, did we have volume? I think so, not that much. But a push to downtrend break and good percentage move on Friday. And on the other hand, we have Asana, which we have a small bullish divergence here and horizontal level hold. Team and Atlassian and Asana do basically the same type of software. I would expect Asana to follow closely very soon and have a significant move up from this level. Not necessarily a breakout, but going from where we are now to 1250-ish, maybe 13, is a decent size move in the short term. If we have a breakout potential to go back to this area here at 15, 16. So pretty good overall if the move happens. I'm putting Boeing here because it's getting very close to this area, which I think is long-term support, which is 145. Could even stop short of that. Uh, I would not try to do anything before earnings. October 23rd, not long to go. But if we get a positive move on earnings, I think this is a buy for continuation. Like this will squeeze. Given the bad publicity with Boeing, I think this is pretty straightforward, squeezable situation. And if on earnings we get a move up, this will go up significantly. The risk, quote unquote risk, is that this starts moving up before earnings, and I just don't want to take a position before earnings. Or maybe take a position if the move happens, but don't hold through earnings because it can definitely go against you. So yeah, I think if we break out today, this is takeable, but don't hold through earnings. And on earnings, if we dump, it's still a buy. Like if we get in this area, this is like COVID crash level kind of thing, and I think it's a buy even if it dumps on earnings. Berkshire. So we had this trend line here, had this move up, uh, and a breakout above the previous high here. And now it is holding above. We have our side with this nice curling thing here. Definitely okay to take along. CRISPR, some bottom catching here. Let's say somewhat of a bullish divergence. meaning the slope of this one is, it's about the same. Uh, so this one is takeable. I would expect it to bottom relatively soon, but definitely possible that it goes down to 40. I would expect it to bottom out relatively soon. I like the fact that it's holding this horizontal level, like the bottom can be here, but it can also be lower. The fact that it's held once, multiple attempts here to go below, and aside from this one, it always wicked back above and closed green. Same kind of behavior here, meaning it tried to go close here below this line. Let's actually bring it to where this candle was. Okay, so this. No, it didn't close. It didn't close below the closing of this candle. Only had the close here, but other than that, it held. So this suggests that the bottom is in, and eventually, after a bit more consolidation, it will move higher. Lulu. This in this area, I would wait a bit more. There is the potential for another low retest here, meaning something like this. But I think this 250 area is a decent buy if we get it. That's kind of it. A couple of bottom catchers. ANF, huge pennant here. I like the recapture of the 50 RSI level. Couple of scenarios. We can do this and eventually maybe lower, maybe higher, um, or just breakout. Just be on the watch for the breakout. If it happens, it's takeable. DG holding on this horizontal level at 80. Don't think we have precedence below this. Bullish divergence is obvious. It doesn't have to be a lower low on price. It just has to have a steeper slope on the divergence. The slope here is much steeper than the slope here. This is still a bullish divergence. Uh, Again, it's possible that it retests the low, but I think this will be a bottom and eventually it should make a move higher. Target will be 100. I think 100 becomes resistance, and I'm not that overly bullish on this, but 85 to 100 is a decent size move to play. And I think this is going to do this for a while. I don't see it going higher because the macro conditions are not that good for it. But a move to 100 is definitely plausible here on DG. Sketchers with potential for a breakout, holding above 50 RSI. Nice move on Friday. Let's see if we have continuation. This is on watch for today. Obviously, we can get rejected. Maybe do this. Maybe do this. We shall see. See, I posted this one on Twitter or retweeted it. I like this one on the setup here, holding the low on a closing basis. Only had this close below and recovered on Friday. I think this has a bit more consolidation to do, but I think 50 will hold. If we get it below 51, this is a nice long, I think. KSS, this one is the one I retweeted. has some flow. Anything below 19, I think, is takeable as a long. Breakout, backtest, and going higher has potential to go like 4, maybe even higher to retest the high at 460. Another bottom catcher here with going below this area. I think this one is a wait until it recaptures 10. But on the same logic as explained earlier, if we recapture this 10 level on a closing basis, let's just put it at 10, I think this has the potential to go higher. And just like it did here, just like it did here, this even had a backtest of 10 and then went higher. Problem is that it kind of tends to move on earnings, both up and down. Earnings are on November 4th. Not so sure that it will make the move before that. What I can say, is that it will probably attempt to go back above 10, but if it gets rejected, it can go lower. So can do this if it has that breakout. Just keep an eye on it, see what happens. GMED. I like this one for the RSI setup. This is basically a sideways correction. Price doesn't go down that much. Uh, we are in this gap area, which we haven't fully filled. I think it's plausible that we see 75, 76 to fill the gap from this drop here. But I think it's actually, because of the consolidation took a while longer, I think this has the potential to go to the highs at 85. It's a bull flag, sideways consolidation, pretty straightforward and nice looking chart here. XAS for the potential breakout. I think this will go nowhere until earnings, but just in case it does, maybe put an alert here if it does move above this trend line, because it can go to 100 pretty easily. But I would expect it's going to be an earnings move, not that big. Maybe something like this, go sideways for a bit, and then when earnings we have the breakout, and it's gonna be a multi-day move. Just take it when the breakout happens on earnings, if it does. If it happens earlier, sure, go for it. But it seems somewhat unlikely that it will move have the breakout before earnings. Also, this horizontal level is pretty important. We see some consolidation here before moving higher, some consolidation here, uh, a, a close below it and recapture, but the fact that it went below it was a warning that it did this, and so on. So I think there's a plausible scenario in which it goes back to 60, maybe just 65, and just goes sideways for a while longer before earnings. And then if earnings are good, it does the move and target is 100 if it does that. Okay. Moderna, it had that dump recently. I think this one here. It was looking good until it wasn't, but I like the setup here. I think it goes to 55, which is the low of the consolidation area before the COVID vaccine breakout. So this would be my target, not the bottom catcher. And I think if we get to 55 in the next week or so, uh, or a couple of weeks, it's going to be a pretty nice buy for the long term. So something like this, and it will be oversold enough to be even a short-term technical play, like regardless of what it does long term. But if we get this 55 move, I think it's a nice buy to go long for the potential much higher move later on. BFE holding the horizontal breakout level. Still looks bullish. I still like this one for the potential of their weight loss drug coming out probably next year. We shall see. Now, some financial stuff. Surprisingly, the regional banks look quite bullish. For First Horizon, we have this horizontal level area. I'll do weekly chart to see it better. Support here, resistance here, resistance here. When we broke above it, we surged up. Was support here, became resistance, and then down below it, support here. And we are exactly at this area and with a somewhat bullish setup. Uh, Bullish because of how RSI looks like. Like we have this trying to recapture 50 RSI, which I like, and earnings relatively soon. I like this. If potentially a wait until earnings on this one as well in October 16th, so next week. Yeah, next week. I don't think it moves before earnings, but if on earnings it breaks out, I think this has the potential to move quite fast and a lot. I go back to 25-ish, maybe 20-ish, 24 the beginning of the initial move, but I think it can go to 25 if earnings are really good. So wait until earnings. If this makes a move higher, go with it. Even if you miss the initial move, maybe like let's say it does 8% on the initial move, and you feel like you missed it, I think this goes higher. Then we have LC with this pennant build up here. Earnings soon as well, October 23rd. But I think definitely this can move before earnings. And if we have breakout, just follow it. I think you can get to 15. Sophie as well. We had a fake breakout. It tried to go lower again, but it held the horizontal level. And now it had a big move on Friday. Earnings relatively soon as well. I think this will continue moving up. Maybe get to 10. And you, this is correcting after the huge earnings move it had on in August. And I would wait until we get like a 12. It depends on when it happens as well. Maybe something like this. But I would expect it to move higher uh, on earnings, November 13th. It won't wait that long. Anyway, if it gets all the way to 12, definite buy. Question, I don't think it will. Question is, where does it stop? Maybe 14 itself. Maybe poke below 14 again, and then it should turn back up. Root. So root, huge move from 8 until 87. Holy fuck. Then corrected, went back to the highs, and now it's doing this. It looks like a breakout. I would like it to recapture this 4120 level on a closing basis. Definitely to keep an eye on it. I don't think it goes back to the high, but let's see, something like 55 is doable. 50 for sure. This can move very quickly, like even today we can see continuation up. Something like this, maybe something like this. Definitely worth a look. Uh, Revisiting Moss, this huge falling wedge is still happening, and CF did its move. So why not Moss? Because they're in the same industry, they're doing the same kind of thing, meaning fertilizer. So I'm betting that CF is a laggard here. They were extremely well correlated before the recent move in CF and in the past. I would assume this will recover and uh, do at least a move up, not necessarily catch up to CF as a percentage move, but definitely a move to like 40, something like this, relatively soon. And this is a huge wedge, like it has a lot of energy. I think we can potentially get to retest this 42 area over a longer period of time, not necessarily in the next 3 months or so. Shake Shack is here on the list because of the potential for a breakout here and go to 130, 140. Kind of a rising wedge, like the look of this curling in the RSI again. So we shall see if we close above 112. Can definitely go to 140. The bottom catcher in Siri. This was a merger between the old Siri, which was like free, and I don't remember the other thing's name. Uh, kind of a bullish divergence, kind of making a bottom. I will remind you that Buffett took a position in this, and maybe he had. 3-year divergence on the weekly. I like I like hugging this trend line. I think it's a matter of time before it does kind of a big move. What the fuck? Why can't I click shit today? Very tight. I don't see it going significantly lower. Yeah, kind of it. 25 definitely doable on a single move. Anything beyond this is a bonus. Okay. Ulta. So horizontal area here, will be a stop. We went below it. We had the news about the Buffett taking a position in Ulta as well. And now it had a correction, but this horizontal area is holding for now. So given the overall situation of the with the Buffett taker position, I don't think this will go significantly lower. And it's kind of like a head and shoulder setup, uh, and eventually this will go higher. Target 468 for now at the gap start, but definitely can go higher. Obviously, it can go sideways for a bit. This shoulder formed over a longer period. This will also likely take a bit more time, but I think eventually it can 400 for sure, but it can go even higher than that. Now, not everything is super rosy, and UPS kind of looks like shit, but earnings. October 24th. And if this goes lower, I think it's a buy. I don't see it being overly bullish or bearish in the next before earnings. But if it goes like to 120 or below on earnings, I think it's a buy here. A huge demand area going to 100. But I think it will hold on these highs here. And it will have finally filled the gap from August 2020 at 120. So I think this area here is going to be the buy even if it has bad earnings, and could potentially even V up on earnings if it does like a dump like this. Another bottom catcher is Walgreens. Okay, let's look. We have this support area in this here, and then we have one at 5. I am not necessarily calling a bottom on Walgreens, and I would definitely wait for earnings. This is more like earnings speculation, but post earnings. If this dumps on earnings and it goes all the way here, it's a buy because technical reasons. Like we can do. We actually don't care what happens before earnings. But let's say it does this in this 5 area. This is a definite buy. If it goes up, still definite buy because it's going to be shorted. It's going to be um, it's going to have some momentum, and I think it will give us a trend line retest. There's definitely various levels that we can see here. Like we have this support. This type of stock doesn't usually move a lot. So let's say we do this fade below 8 going into earnings, and we either dump and we buy the dip and this 5 area, or we go up and we buy the continuation, and it should go, I don't know, first to 10, potentially even as high as 12, 12 and a half at the gap start. If it breaks out, obviously much higher, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Either way, it's a wait for earnings on Walgreens, and if it goes up, it's a buy. If it goes down, it's a buy. Last is Knight Swift Transportation, which I don't like the way it looks at all. This is giving me week of distribution vibes, and we are here at this LPSY. Not saying it's a short yet, but if this breaks down and doesn't hold the trend and then goes lower, this will drop significantly. Either in this 33 area, but most likely in this all the way here, like 28. So for this one, again, not a short yet. Probably is going to be earnings based whatever happens next. Earnings are on the 4th, 23rd here. So if this breaks down, it's going to be because of earnings. And if we lose 45, get ready for an epic dump. It's gonna be faster than that. So yeah, keep an eye on it for what happens after earnings. That's it on the individual names. I'll do the market update as well. Have a good one. Bye bye.